It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Welcome to Powering Through Life on the Divas That Care Network. I'm your host, Teresa Sims, and I am a transformational life coach, an award-winning author, and a multiple #1 best-selling co-author. Each week on Powering Through Life, my guests and I will discuss a special topic that is close to their heart. Together we will explore the challenges they have faced in life and learn what strategies and tools they have used to power through their lives. So welcome to Powering Through Life.
Thanks for joining us today on Powering Through Life. I have a really incredible guest with me, and her name is Trista Polo. And she has over 13 years of experience with and coaching entrepreneurs and business owners. She is a speaker, trainer, and host for podcasts, video, and live events around the U.S. Trista's mission is to help people win, whatever winning looks like to them. Through transforming conversations with self and others, she helps people access their true power. And honestly, we all need to have that in our back pocket, Trista. Welcome to Powering Through Life.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, this is fantastic. I'm so glad to have you here, and we're going to get this thing accomplished today because we've been trying. And, we've had some technical glitches, but you know what? We go with the flow, don't we?
That's right.
Oops, and we just had a technical glitch. Okay, you still there?
I am. I'm here.
Okay. My husband can edit those pieces out, so we'll just keep going.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, our topic today on Powering Through Life is how self-worth impacted Trista's results and what she did to level up her self-worth and her results. I think that's great. What a great topic to have. So is there any opening statement you would like to give us, Trista, as far as our topic today?
Well, self-worth is the crux of things. I think about all the different ways that we can learn to get results, because that's what we want out of life. We want to feel accomplished. We want to feel successful. We want to, even if we're failing our way forward, we still want to be moving forward and expanding as people and what we're capable of. And there's so many different things out there about how to do that, how to write the perfect goal statement, how to access the law of attraction, how to visualize or write or meditate your way to success. I have taken so many courses and boot camps and watched so many videos and read so many books, and I've always been able to get nuggets and tools from those. But here's what I've really learned is if my self-worth is lacking, then my results will really reflect not only the new things I've learned, but also the self-worth that I have. And so that can taint your results. And so what I was finding is that I actually would have success, but it was a lot of work, or it was fleeting, or it was with tons of challenges I had to overcome. It just didn't have a lot of freedom and ease to it.
How about
and I bring it all back to self-worth.
Yeah. Was it lasting as well? Like your self-worth, did it last for a long period of time, or was that short-lived as well?
Yeah, the whole thing about self-worth for me and my story is that I really didn't have any of it. I could fake my way through it for a while. And that's what I really realized, is that even when I thought I was confident and sure of myself, I was kind of fake it till you make it. That's what I was always told as a kid. Fake it till you make it. If you're not feeling like smiling, just smile until you feel like smiling.
Yeah, it's just going to miraculously happen for us, right?
That's right. That's right. So my self-worth was sort of that. It was, they talk about imposter syndrome. Definitely. I was pretending to be a confident, strong, and powerful woman. And for much of my life, I've had success, absolutely. But I always felt like, I should have more success with as hard as I'm working, with as much as I've learned. What's missing? And the missing piece, I realized, was my lacking self-worth.
Oh, my goodness. So how difficult was your life before you discovered self-worth?
Well, I'm a pretty positive person. So I will tell you that when I learned how to have gratitude and create positivity as a choice, my life got way better. Because I think that your mindset about how your life is the key. So I won't say I had a bad life. I have a wonderful home. I have a wonderful husband. I have a wonderful dog and cat and family and business. I can be positive and grateful for everything, even when things are tough. So I'll say when I learned how to be positive and grateful, my life was great, even when it was hard.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's you need to discover who you are and what your self-worth is and what your own self-value is, too. And it all goes part and parcel, right? So how did you go about discovering your own self-worth? Other than, you said you mentioned earlier that you did courses and workshops and trainings in that.
Yeah, it's been a process.
There must have been more to it than that, though, I would assume.
Well, the thing is that first I think I had to really face my actual belief about myself. Mm-hmm. Going through so many courses, camps, videos, visualizations, and goal statements, I'm very good at looking into the future and visualizing what I want to be there. And when the results don't match up to what I visualize, I just go back to the drawing board. It was only when I was willing to face that it was actually my self-worth that was the missing piece of the puzzle that I could start to transform it. And so, yes, every course I attended, every boot camp, every video, it all made a positive impact on me, but I had to be willing to not just look without and look for the key somewhere else, but I had to be willing to look within. And when your self-worth is low, it's hard to look to yourself for the answers. Because how could you have the answers if you're a piece of crap? If your confidence is low.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just don't have that energy, I guess it is, to put towards discovering what your self-worth is. But doing some positive action steps must have helped increase that and keep it going for you.
Well, what's really beautiful is all of the training I've given myself allowed me to have success. So I have a thriving business. I have a thriving coaching practice. I have a thriving residual income. And I know that it is not where it could be or should be now that I have been willing to face what a powerful person I am.
Ah, good. I love that statement because now you know how powerful you truly are, and the sky's the limit. If you stick with the sky, I mean, you could say the universe is the limit. But it sounds like you've done a lot of the work to be able to discover that. And how did you? Maybe you've touched on it, but how did you decide or discover that your self-worth was low?
Well, I think it's kind of, the AA 12 steps, the very first step is admitting you have a problem.
Okay.
I think that's really where it started for me, is I had to really look at my results honestly and say, yes, absolutely. I'm grateful for where I've gotten and look all the success I've had. And I know so many people who have said, wow, Trista, you are quite impressive at the front of a room. You should be further along in your success from where you are. And I'd heard that more than once. And I kind of had this inkling about it as well, but I didn't know what the gap was until I figured out that it was my self-worth. And like I said, I really only could do that when I was willing to admit that it was low instead of pretending that it was high. Because I think that's the thing, is I've been that imposter syndrome is the perfect term. I've been pretending for most of my life to be a strong and powerful person. And when I was finally willing to acknowledge my power, and I think of that Marianne Williamson quote, the problem is not that you are not powerful. The problem is that you're afraid to believe that you're actually as powerful as you are. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's a great quote. And it always reminds me that there's something more there if we're just willing to look at it. Because when I said I'm a strong and powerful woman, some people listening to this might say, wow, isn't she cocky? Where'd she get all that confidence? But the thing is that I am a reflection of you, or a reflection of me. And so if I'm as powerful as I am, that means that you are as well.
Yes, we cut out there briefly, but yes, that's true. So it's a reciprocal thing, kind of. So when we're talking together, you're giving me power, and I'm also giving you power. So we help each other to boost each other up. And
absolutely.
We're learning from each other, and that's the beauty of this whole thing, is because we're not in this journey alone. There's always someone there that can give us a hand and give us some information. And what was your life like after you learned to value yourself? Go through the steps of how it changed for you.
Sure, absolutely. I think that it's been a process, right? There's no flipped switch. And I think that's the thing I was always looking for, the magic pill, the switch to flip, the perfect phrase. But I will say that, I've done a lot of work with a couple of different organizations that made a huge difference for me. One was the Peak Potentials courses, and another one was the Landmark Worldwide courses, really looking at who I am, how I show up, and how I interact with people. Mm. But there's this phrase that has really shifted my paradigm, that has made a difference for me. And it was gifted to me, and I want to gift it to the people listening to your podcast, because it's what made the difference, not just in the tools I had available and the way I communicate, my leadership skills and how I build teams, but it's actually in how I look at myself. And when I first was gifted this phrase, I was like, I don't get it. I had to write it down. I didn't remember it. I was actually resisting it because it's like an affirmation or a mantra, a statement, whatever you want to call it. The label is insignificant. The words themselves, though, when believed, when not just said but believed, boy, they really can shift for you. And what's interesting is that your brain believes whatever you tell it.
Yes.
Right? So you don't actually have to believe it at first, but if you can repeat it, and this is true of any positive statement, right? You can retrain your brain and program it for whatever you want it to believe. Your brain just needs evidence, and repetition can be enough evidence, which then turns into action, which reinforces the words, which reinforces the belief, and then it becomes the truth. And that's been my process, that exact process. So now my life is a lot easier. I have much, much better results, much more quickly. I see much more serendipity and miracles and coincidences that are in my favor. Mm-hmm. Even this whole thing that's been going on where people are staying home, and everything that's happened where we've had to shift a lot of the things that we've been doing, that's actually worked in my favor. And I've been growing my business, my practice, my residual income, like in all areas I'm growing in an environment where other people are struggling, which of course, I'm not saying anything about other people. This is just my personal experience, my own personal perspective.
Right.
But the phrase I'd love to share, if I may,
yes,
because I think it'll make a huge difference. So this is the phrase: I believe I deserve all the best life has to offer. That's the phrase.
That's very good.
And then there's an extra piece that's like the advanced phrase, which it goes
Okay.
like this. I believe I deserve all the best life has to offer, and I was
Can
created
you repeat
with
that,
the
Trista?
ability.
Can you
Oh,
repeat
sure.
that, please? That one blanked out
Yep.
a little bit.
Oh, sure, no problem. So the advanced version of the phrase is, I believe I deserve all the best life has to offer, and I was created with the ability to achieve it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I'll tell you, when you first start using the phrase, the shorter version is a perfect place to start. You don't need that second piece of it yet. And it might be, when I've gifted it to other people, a lot of times they're like, oh, I believe that. I'm like, but do you really, like at the core, at the first thought that you have before all the other thoughts, do you believe it deep, 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 deep down? Or is it just what you can tell yourself and hopefully you'll be able to convince yourself?
Yeah.
Because this has to be something you believe in the core. That self-worth needs to be at the very core, at the very first original thought of every thought you have that leads you toward the actions that get you to your result.
Mm.
And so when I first started using this phrase, it was like a protection against the negative, like something bad would happen. And I would sort of say it over and over. I believe I deserve all the best life has to offer. I believe I deserve, like almost like a protection, like a cape, like my superpower.
Hey, there's nothing
or like
wrong
a
with
salve. Yeah, exactly. And then what I noticed is I would start to remember to say it without having to try, and I actually had it memorized by then. And then something interesting happened, is I would say it to myself, and my body would tingle like it was responding with a reaction of, yes, that's the truth. I can't really describe it. It's almost like a tingle inside myself, like goosebumps, but not on my skin, like inside.
Yeah, like little nervous energy almost, that kind of butterfly feeling. But yeah, I think that's because you took that phrase and absorbed it into all of your senses throughout your body. And that's what the piece I think that people sometimes miss is, yes, you can tell yourself that. And yes, you can say you believe it, but until you really absorb it, you need to hear how that phrase sounds. You need to see it. You need to, is when you close your eyes and you absorb that phrase, is there a smell that's associated with it? Is there a sight that is, something you see that's associated with it? A taste. So every sense in your body needs to bring that forward and bring it to life. And then it's really lasting, I think. And it's easier to recall it, too.
Absolutely. And I think what you're pointing to is putting something in existence over time. The repetition is the key. Because if you, like you said, if you say it once, you write it down once, and then you forget it. And I think we do that with a lot of things. Somebody writes a goal statement and then they put it in their drawer. Never read it again. It's
not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to have something exist over time and to keep it present for you. And that ongoing process is the key. I can teach people about goals, and I can teach them about being better at sales and communication and team leadership and all the different things that are required to succeed. But the most important piece of all of those is the follow-up. Like, what are you doing after you learned it to implement it each day, each week, each month over time?
And tracking your successes. Really important, because if you don't track anything like that, then you don't have any proof that it actually worked. For sure. Yeah, so it is a process, isn't it? And it's not one that can be taken lightly. It has to be, it's work, of course, but it's so worth it. We have, we deprive ourselves of things, and for what? It's, we have value, we have worth. We should have endless success if we choose it. Absolutely. Yeah. The name of my coaching practice is I Woke Up Awesome. And it is, because I woke up exactly like I am, and it's awesome. And same for you, each of us, however you woke up, you're perfect. Yeah.
exactly as you are. And if we really believe that about ourselves, then the possibilities are endless.
Mm-hmm. And one
and
other
I will
thing
tell
I
you,
think we
go
need
ahead.
to explore is we need to stop comparing ourselves to others as well. Because that's their journey of success and their journey totally. This is our journey. And they're not always the same. And they shouldn't be the same because we're all individuals.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're comparing yourself to others, that is an indication of your self-worth not being where it could be. Not where it should be, but where it could be, what's available to you. Because as soon as I started to really understand my worth at a core level, then I really do want every single person to win whatever winning looks like to them. Because why wouldn't I? They have unlimited potential just like I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe they just haven't realized that yet and haven't seen it yet because it's not, in a lot of cases, it's not something we were all brought up with. I know I definitely wasn't. And I wasn't taught that from a young age. I was taught not a lot of things that were good. So it's been a learning process for me. Well, seriously.
Yeah.
But it's been a learning process for me how to go from such a horrible environment into now where, I thought I lost my life in 2007 from a car accident.
Wow.
So
oh my
now
gosh.
transformed to find out, I lost my human resource career because of that, my injuries and all that sort of thing. So I had to find what my purpose was, had to find what my because I lost everything, lost self-identity. I was left with my life.
Wow.
But that was pretty much it. And I had to develop what I wanted to do from that point on. Now, mind you, it took 9 years to come to full force with it, but it's been an incredible journey, and it's been one that is so such a gift for me because my lifelong dreams were to write and to help other people. And through my writing and my coaching practice and my speaking engagements, that's exactly what I'm doing. And who knew that this would happen? I think the things that, events that occurred in my path were the bigger plan that I wasn't aware of that was put in my place, and my choices, that I decided if I was going to choose this, and do something with it, then, wonderful things can happen. But if I made the other choice to just wallow in self-pity with my injuries, I wouldn't have seen my own self-worth. I wouldn't have seen my own self-value, and I would not have been a very good person to be around either, I'm sure. But, these journeys and these gifts that we're given, they're there to teach us something.
Absolutely.
And it's our choices whether we want to learn the lessons or not. And, it sounds like we're both on the same wavelength of self-worth. We need to have that. We need to know who we are at cell level, really.
And I think who we are, that's the key. So once we realize that we deserve all the best life has to offer and that we were created with the ability to achieve it, once those things are true, we can discover who we really are.
Yes. Because we're all put on this earth equally. We all are given the same, not same opportunities, but we're given the same opportunity of life and to grow.
Yeah.
And it's our choices whether or not we choose to do that. And once the choice is made, oh my goodness, the possibilities, like you said before, are absolutely endless. And it's such a lovely ride to be on, too.
Yeah. And the people in your life start to feel better about themselves as well.
Yes.
My relationship with my husband has never been better, and, we are we're hanging out more than we ever have, right, because of, all the time we get to spend together.
I have the same issue. So, yes.
Yeah.
But it's I keep saying to people, I haven't killed him yet. That's not a nice thing to say. But it's been, he lost his job at the end of January, so he's been home
I'm so
since
sorry.
then already. Yeah, but you know what? It was coming. So we needed to look at that, and we're looking at it as it's a gift. It's given him time to do things. Doing my tech work. So he's a tech guy, so he's doing my tech work. He's also learning. He's taking courses. He's improving himself. So yes, it's all
That's
there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So even in the darkest things that happen, like this pandemic, and we're caught in our houses, and that's where we should be because of health reasons, we can look at it in a positive light rather than a negative aspect. Someone asked me this morning, so what do you think, how did that go? It was something about what's the best phrase you can give to describe what's gone on in the last few months, or how would you describe it? And I said, I believe it's a pause to change, because we're given this pause in time for the world to change and adapt. And however we come out in the end, we will see. But it's our choices, and I think it all fits into how, we can find our own self-worth. So when you talk about finding self-worth, did you do any work of looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, self-talk?
Actually, it's funny you should ask that. I have a video YouTube channel, and one of the videos was actually a very helpful process that I did, which was to finally just get real with myself and say what there was to say. It wasn't a very positive experience. And actually how it started was I stood in the mirror. I have a mirror in my bathroom that's like a 3/4 length, so I was able to really see myself. And I started with saying all the things that I was holding back from saying to the people in my life. Now, I didn't say it to them because that wouldn't really forward anything, because this is all my thoughts and my BS. I said it to myself, and I went loose. I said everything. I yelled it. I screamed it. I mean, I'm thinking back at the ridiculousness of it, but it was so cathartic. Yeah. Because as soon as I was able to finally say what I had been holding back for fear of upsetting someone or hurting their feelings or whatever, as soon as I was able to be honest with them, I was able to be honest with myself.
Oh, that is fabulous.
And then it started. I started in on myself and all the ways that I've disappointed myself and upset myself and let myself down and fallen short and judged myself and criticized. And so that whole process was me being willing, again, to see it as it really is, what's really there.
Yeah.
And that left space. And I'll tell you, it was not too long after that this phrase was gifted to me. You talk about how things often look like they're bad, but then something great can come from them. And only in looking back at what happened from that misstep, your husband losing your job, for example, it's offered all this other wonderful stuff. He's able to reinvent himself and learn and take time off and, support you and technology stuff. If you looked forward, you wouldn't be able to see how anything bad could actually create something good. But if you really believe that you deserve all the best life has to offer, then every single thing that happens, even if it appears like a challenge, could just be a step toward the better.
Right. A challenge is not, the word itself doesn't imply that it's an easy thing to do. So there's always, it implies there's a little bit of work to do and a little bit of,
sure,
you have to do some kind of process involved in it. So it's so, it's such an incredible thing to do. And I know when you were talking about looking in the mirror, there's also, and talking to your family members and those, there's also another one. Are you familiar with the chair technique?
No. Oh, share it with me, please.
Oh, okay. So if you're unable to actually verbalize something towards another individual, but you really, it's killing you inside and you need to get it out, which usually is me, because if I don't get it out of my body, if I don't get negative stuff out of my body, it'll fester. And that's when health issues start to create for all of us, right? So
Yes.
there was an event that occurred several years ago, and I needed to get it off my chest, but I couldn't actually verbalize it to my husband. So what I did was I took a picture of him, and I set it in a chair across from me. And I sat in a very quiet room, closed the door, nobody involved, no lights on. Well, you could have lights on, but no phone, no TV, no nothing, right? So sat there, and I actually talked to his picture and verbalized everything that I needed to get out. And then, you know, you would trade places with that individual. So you put the picture in your chair, and you sit in his chair, taking his perspective of it and how you think it would go. And then that individual talks to you. I mean, it's you talking, but you're assuming the role of that individual. So they're answering back and saying things to you. So it's a conversation you're actually having with yourself, but, you know, with the image of the other individual there. So you're getting the unburdened, you're getting to unburden your soul by verbalizing what happened. You're not actually harming the other person by saying
that's so beautiful.
to them. So it's a good technique to use, and I've used it a few times, and actually have helped other clients incorporate that into their discussions with their spouses or family members that are having difficulties, and it's a good tool to use and to implement. So, and you know, the other one about self-talk into the mirror, I've done that as well. And it took me till I was, 50-something to be able to look at my own eyes in the mirror and say, you know what? You're actually you have pretty eyes. You have pretty brown eyes. And I, you know, up until that age, I had never been able to say anything like that because of the foundation that I had when I was young. So all growth points, all, you know, in that statement, I recognize that, you know what, I'm not what I was told I was. Look at that. I have value. Look at this. You know, like, it's so different when you do the work and make the change and feel it and really incorporate it into your life.
Absolutely.
Great work you're doing, Trista. Oh, my goodness. Fabulous.
Good. Thank you. And I'm so glad I get to share it. You know, I actually had someone on my podcast. I have a podcast about license plates, vanity license plates. And so she, so I had her on my podcast, and her philosophy is, if you're just one step ahead of someone else, then you have something to offer. You have a contribution to share. And I think it kind of helps with the mindset of, well, I can't help anybody till I'm done, till I'm fully cooked.
Right.
But if you've done any work and had any transformations and have any tools to share, then gift them out to the world, because we need to be there for each other in helping each other expand and grow and creating a conversation of expansion and transformation.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think so many of us started out, I had a very rocky little childhood myself. And, you know, and that created a lot of the self-talk I took with me into my adulthood, and that I've had the opportunity to transform. And I think that what you're saying about being willing, the willingness is really the key. Being willing to have life be different than it is right now. Being willing to make choices and make steps forward and just see what happens and adjust as you go and keep tweaking it.
Yeah, exactly. And don't give up.
And don't give up, yeah.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people will start the transformation and then say, I can't do it. You know, it's just easier being the way I was. But it's being the way you were that was making you so miserable. So wouldn't you want to do the work to transform? But in some cases, people are content with being how they are, even though it's not good for them. It's just
and I think that's fear.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's fear too. I want to tell you a story. When I was in high school, I was in an algebra class, and there were only about, 12 or 13 of us in this class. It was a very small class. And other than me, every other person in the classroom was a football player.
Oh.
and I'm a band geek, drama student type. I wasn't a cheerleader. I wasn't in the popular class or the popular crowd. I didn't get invited to the parties. I'm way cool now, but I was not cool in high school. So I go into class and I sit down and get ready for class. And the whole time it's like my butt hurts. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, why is my butt hurting? Why is there this ache in my butt? But I refused to do anything about it because I didn't want to be laughed at. I didn't want to have any attention drawn to me. I didn't want to be ridiculed. I didn't want to be made fun of. I'd had experience with that kind of, bullying stuff when I was younger. And I was over it. Like, I'm a power thrower. I power through,
Yes.
And so I powered through the whole class with this little achy thing going on in my butt. And when I stood up, what I realized was that I had a tack on my seat. It was placed there by the football players before I got into the class. And they intended to play a prank on me. And I sat there with a tack on my seat for an entire class. Now, why did I do that? Because I didn't want to face, it was easier to deal with a little bit of discomfort. It wasn't like it pierced my jeans. It was pain I could live with.
Right.
And it was easier to live with that pain than standing up and looking in my chair and having them all laugh at whatever was going on. I didn't know it was a tack. I didn't know they had done it. But I knew that if I made a ruckus, that there'd be a situation that would put me at the brunt of stuff. And so it was just fear of facing the ridicule of other people, of facing the consequences of my actions and what could happen. And so I just dealt with the pain because it was livable.
But they were probably sitting there.
Life.
Yeah, I think they were probably sitting there giggling their heads off because you were sitting on it and not doing anything.
Absolutely. I'm sure it was still hilarious. But then they could laugh at me after the class.
Right.
But together behind my back instead of laughing at me to my face, which almost is more comforting because then at least I don't have to know about it.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness. Well, that's a good analogy of what we were discussing. That is perfect.
Yeah.
If it's uncomfortable, you have to decide whether you want to change or stay in the same rut, I guess, is a good word to put it. But so this has been a great conversation, and I really like this, and I think we're going to have you back again in the future because we have so much more that we can discuss. And
absolutely, I would love to.
Fantastic. Is there a favorite quote or saying that you have other than the one you've already given us?
There is. And I think the other thing I'll say as a final thought is just to acknowledge everyone who's listening to this conversation and looking to see what they can get for themselves, because that's the first step. Is, being willing to look at what's going on, like what's there, and then making choices about what you want to do next and what you want to do about it. So the quote that I'll leave you with is from Alison Partridge. Don't look any further than your own reflection for a hero.
Oh, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Put your hero cape on because we all are superheroes. We just don't always wake them up and use them.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Trista, thank you so much. And we will have all your contact information on the link for the segment when it's posted. And I hope everyone gets in touch with you. And how would they be able to get in touch with you? What's your email address? Well,
you can find me on social media. I'm very search engine optimized. So you can just look me up by my name, Trista Polo. My website is iwokeupawesome.com, and my podcast is platestory.com with the number 8.
Okay. We're going to have to repeat that, Trista, because the phone cut out again. So just go ahead and repeat your contact information for me.
Sure. So you can find me anywhere on social media by just searching my name, or you can go to my website at iwokeupawesome.com. And if you want to check out my Vanity License Plate podcast, You can look it up as Trista's Plate Story Podcast.
Okay. Trista, it was cutting out again, so what we're going to do is
Oh,
cut
goodness.
that segment
Okay.
out. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
You can just put it in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's going to happen because it's cutting
Yeah.
out, so we'll have to alter this segment. But anyway, thank you again, Trista, for being an incredible guest on Powering Through Life. I really do appreciate your foresight, your insight, and the information that you've given us on how to find self-worth and discover what it is and what that means to you. So, Trista, thank you for sharing with the audience today.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. And listeners, check out all the segments on Powering Through Life, and we will talk to you again soon.
Well, Divas, that brings to a close another great, inspiring interview on Powering Through Life. Thank you to my incredible guest for sharing your story with us. Divas, if you would like to connect with my guests, just go to divasthatcare.com, click on my picture at the top, that's Teresa Sims, and there you can access all of my interviews. Don't be shy, reach out if you have any questions, or simply just leave us a comment. Also, you can contact me at my website, that's teresasims.com. Thank you for listening to Powering Through Life on the Divas That Care Network.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.